You should definitely have notebooks out right now. Okay, so we are going to start working on Unit 1.2.6, and we only have 3 examples today, so don't freak out. However, they are word problems, okay? There are a significant amount of word problems on your test, okay? Your test has, I believe it's 20 questions, and I believe there are 1, 2, 4. There are 4 word problems, okay, out of 20 questions, so that's 20% of your test is word problems, okay, so it's kind of a big deal.
Are we taking that Friday?
We are taking that next week on block day, okay, so we are going to solve word problems involving systems of linear equations. So, for notes today, you do have to write down the word problems, okay? On your homework, you do not have to write out the words. I just want the equations, okay? But for now, you do need to write it down so that you'll hopefully understand your notes when you get home. Okay, so for example, number 1. If I tell you, as a fundraiser, a high school choir held a car wash. As a fundraiser, a high school choir held a car wash. They charged $8. They charged $8 for each truck and $6 for each car. We are assuming that there are only trucks and cars being washed, no SUVs, no hybrids, no scooters, no motorcycles, nothing else. Just, okay, because it doesn't work in my word problem, okay? So, $8 and $6, okay? So just trucks and cars. Everything falls into those 2 categories, okay? You can decide however you want to do that, but everything falls into those 2 categories. We know that a total of 32 vehicles were washed. Total of 32 vehicles were washed. Okay. $216 was raised. So they washed 32 vehicles, they raised $216. I would like to know how many of each vehicle type was washed. How many of each vehicle type was washed? Okay, how many of each vehicle type was washed? So, there's a couple different steps that you need to follow here. Okay. The first step, and you don't have to label all of these steps, but you do need to make 2 equations. Okay, we are doing a system of equations, so you're going to make 2 equations. The first one is you're going to make a number of things equation, and a value equation. Okay, value is usually dealing with the money. So you can make 2 different equations. One is a number of things equation. One is always going to be a value equation. So there are actually 4 steps to do these. You do not have to label each step in your homework, okay? But I'm going to label the steps just for now so that we get used to doing this. So step 1 is define your variables. Define the variables. Okay, so in this case, you have trucks and cars. So what variables are just letters. What variable would you like to use for trucks? T. Okay, what variable would you like to use for cars? C. Okay, some teachers, whenever you had Algebra 1, sometimes they always made you use X and Y. I don't care if you use different variables. Like these two make sense to me, so I would probably prefer that you use these instead of x and y. But if you use x and y, make sure you know like x is trucks or y is trucks, something like that. Make sure you write it down somewhere, otherwise it gets really confusing at the end. Step 2 is to write the equations. So write the equations. Okay, so your first equation is your number of things equation. And then you're also going to have a value equation. So, how many things happened here? What is your, in this word problem, what is talking about the number of things?
32 vehicles.
Total of 32 vehicles. So, to get to 32, what would you have to add together?
The amount of trucks and cars.
The amount of trucks and cars. So T plus C equals 32. The amount of trucks plus the amount of cars is equal to 32. Then you also have to do a value equation. So what is your total for how much money they made? 216. Okay. How much was each truck?
18
$8. So 8T plus 6C, $6 for cars, equals 216. The hardest part about these is writing the equations. Okay, once you have the equations written, this is just a normal systems of equations. Okay, so step 3 is to solve by substitution or addition method. So solve by substitution or addition method. Doesn't matter to me which way you do this. So solve by either method that you see fit. So for this one, would you prefer to do substitution or addition? I heard substitution, so that's fine. Okay, if you wanted to do substitution, you have to get one variable completely by itself. So you can choose to either get, obviously you'd want to use the first equation, because those ones don't have any numbers in front of them. Would you want to get t by itself or c by itself?
C.
C? Okay, if you want to get c by itself, how would you do that?
Subtracting.
You would subtract t. So c would equal negative t plus 32. Does anyone not see how I changed that equation? To get c by itself, you would move the t, so subtract t from both sides. So if I'm going to use substitution, all that means you have to do is now plug in this value in for c in your other equation. So 8t plus 6 times, I'm substituting in negative t plus 32 equals 216. Distribute your 6, so 8t minus 6t. 6 times 32, you might have to do it on the side of your paper, okay, or you can use a calculator. I have no problem with you guys using calculators. However, you can't use them on your test, so I would get used to, doing the math if you need to. Okay, so here, 6 times 32 gives you plus 192 equals 216. Then combine your like terms, so 8t minus 6t gives you 2t plus 192 equals 216. To get this by itself, you need to subtract 192. I would not suggest doing this in your head because honestly, there's just too many little errors that can be made, so show your work, please. 216 minus 192 gives you what? 6 minus 2 is 4. 21 minus 19 is
24.
2. 24. Okay, then to get t by itself, divide both sides by 2, so t equals 12. Now, what does that tell me?
There's 12 trucks.
They washed 12 trucks. Then how do you figure out how many cars they washed? Plug it in. Okay, so I would take this one and plug it in. So trucks is 12 plus cars equals 32. You subtract 12 from both sides, it tells you that they washed 20 cars. Okay, so step 4 is to plug back in to find the other variable. Okay, step 4 was plug in to find the other variable. And we just kind of did that, even though I forgot to write it down. Plug in to find other variable. Now, sometimes we're going to ask for both of the variables to be solved for. Sometimes we're only asking for one. Okay, so just be careful that you're not doing too much work, basically. Okay, does anyone have questions on how I did that? No? So the hardest part, like I said here, is just writing the equations. Okay? That's absolutely the hardest part. Okay, let's try another one. Actually, we might only do... Okay, number 2. Say again?
Couldn't it be like all trucks and then like one car or something? Like, how do you like figure out the number of that for you? Because like, there's no way of knowing that they could be like equally amount of cars and trucks.
There's not an equal amount of trucks and cars.
Yeah, but like $8 and then $6. Like, they could have only sold one car or a couple cars and then the rest trucks. Like, how do you know?
Well, that's why we have 2 equations, because otherwise the money equation wouldn't work. That's why you have to have 2 equations. And if you had any other like combination of numbers, this total money number wouldn't work. If they only did like one car and all the rest were trucks, they would have made more money because the trucks were more expensive. So that's it. It's an absolute just one answer. Like there's not going to be any possibility that there can be any others. I kind of think I know what you're talking about. But. Great. So let's do another one. If I tell you that a railroad owns 2 different kinds or 2 different types of tanker cars used for transporting liquid. So a lot of you guys even know that there are different kinds of tanker cars. Yeah, FYI, there's different kinds of tanker cars. Okay, the larger car carries 1,300 gallons, and the smaller car carries 900 gallons. Okay, the larger car carries 1,300 gallons. The smaller car carries 900 gallons. If you know that a train carrying 24 cars, okay, a train has 24 cars, I'm sorry. A train has 24 cars and is carrying 24,400 gallons of liquid. Okay, train has 24 cars and it's carrying 24,400 gallons of liquid. I want to know how many larger cars are on the train. I just told you. Did I?
Huh?
Did I tell you how many larger cars there are?
No, but like if you're looking at the train.
Okay, so Colton says, well, you can just look at the train and you could count. Great. Well, okay, well, what if the walls were like more insulated on some of them and you couldn't tell?
And then you could some of them will only have.
Whatever.
I'm sure it'd be pretty easy to tell actually.
I'm so happy. Great. So, first thing you have to do is you have to define the variables. So, first step is I'm going to say that my larger tanker is equal to L and my smaller is equal to S.
We didn't say maximum capacity 900 gallons.
No. Then I'm going to write my equations. Okay. So, my equations, what would be one of my equations, Thomas? Thomas, what's one of my equations?
Kim Kardashian here again.
One of each cars one for each, I don't know. For the
We're trying to
railroad.
write the equations.
I know, but wouldn't there be an equation for each of the larger and smaller?
Tanner,
L plus S equals 24.
L plus S equals 24. So the number of large cars plus the number of small cars is a total of 24. Okay, then your value equation, how much can a large tanker carry? 1300 L plus how much can a small one carry? 900 S equals how much total is this train carrying? 24,400. 24,400. Then you actually have to solve. So would you prefer to do addition method or substitution? Does not matter. Okay, we did substitution on the last one, so I'm going to show you an addition method for this one. So if you want to solve for L, what variable would you want to get rid of? S. So when you're looking at these, don't do too much work if you don't have to. Okay, if I want to get L by itself, I need to get rid of S. So if I want to get rid of S, what would I multiply by? Negative 900. Okay, if you multiply everything by negative 900, you've got negative 900 L, or L, minus 900 S equals negative 900 times 24. So if you do that, you don't really have to multiply by 900. You can just multiply by 9 and then add on 2 zeros. So 9 times 4 gives you 36. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 3 is 21. So 21, add your 2 zeros, 21,600. So negative 21,600. Then combine your terms here. So the S's go away, which is what you want. Okay? 1300L minus 900L gives you 400L equals, do this subtraction, what do you get? Borrow and carry if you need to. What did we get? 2,800. Okay, then to get L by itself, divide both sides by 400. And what do you get? L equals 7. Would it make any sense to get a fraction or a decimal here? No, you can't have like half of a tanker car. That doesn't make sense. No, you can't. Okay, no. No. Not an option. Okay? No. So L would equal 7. So that means you would have 7 of the large tanker cars. Okay? Anyone have a question on how I did that? Okay. We're going to, yes.
How do you get the 21,600?
I multiplied.
Why?
Because you multiply everything by negative 900. So negative 900 times 24, I multiplied over here. So I just did 9 times 24, and then you can add the 2 zeros at the end. Does that make sense? Okay, I have one more, and then we get to be done, and you get to start working on this. No. Number 3, last one. Okay, number 3. If I tell you a school carnival, sold tickets for $3.50 in advance and $5 at the door. Okay, a total of 115 tickets were sold. With revenue means how much they made, of $462.50. I would like you to find the number of tickets, find the number of each type of ticket sold.
Just write that whole thing where you kind of like pull the information out of
On your homework, you just have to write the equations. So you're always going to have 2 different variables for these. Okay, so what would your variables be for this one? A and W for walk up. Okay. D for door, that's fine. Okay, so A for advance and D for door. So if you know that advance tickets plus at the door tickets equals how much? Should that be the 462.50 or 115? 115. Then you have to do a revenue equation. So revenue is talking about money. So how much was an advance ticket? $3.50. So $3.50 advance plus $5 for a door ticket equals what? $462.50. Okay, now, how would you want to do this? What would you do next? Any ideas? What would you do next? You can move the decimal if you want to. Would it make you feel better if we move the decimals? Would you like that? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes? Okay, if you move over the decimals, that's fine. Then what? So your decimals are out of there. Then what? It's just a systems of equations, so how are we going to solve? Do you want to do addition or substitution method? You have to pick one. Addition method? Okay, if you want to do addition method, then you're going to have to multiply something so it'll cancel out. So what do you want to cancel, the A's or the D's?
A's.
The A's. Okay, if you multiply to cancel out the A's, what would you have to multiply by? Negative 350. Okay, because you'd have to get one to be positive, one to be negative. So this one stays the same. If you multiply by negative 350, that gives you minus 350A minus 350D equals, now you have to multiply 115 by 350. So this may not have been the easiest one to do, but you can do that. So 115 times 350, doesn't really matter which one you write first. Okay, work that out. Get back to me. You are more than capable of multiplying. So multiply, not on a calculator.
40,200.
What do we got?
You said we were allowed to.
No. At home, but not on your test.
Okay.
So you can during homework, but I'm saying you're gonna have to deal with numbers like this on your test and your next quiz. So don't always rely on a calculator. You were close, Tanner, but not quite, I don't think. Anyway, what do we got for 350 times 115? Keyshawn, what do we get? 350 times 115. Okay, I'll wait. You got 4,000?
40,000.
39,000.
How?
40,450.
40,250? You got 39,250?
40,000.
Okay, who did it?
Let me do it on a calculator and we'll solve this
Okay,
problem.
40,250. I'm going to believe that one. And it should be negative, right? As you multiplied by negative. So, if you work this out, the A's will cancel out. What happens here? You get 150D equals what? 600? 6,000?
We're lost.
These go away, so 6,000. Okay. If you divide through by 15, what do we get? Or 150, excuse me. What do we got?
40,250.
40.
Okay. We're dividing. 6,000 divided by 150.
40. So I can
40. Okay. You should get that D equals 40. So, how do you get from D equals 40, how do you find the other one? Plug it in. So, A plus 40 equals 115. So, just take the first equation. Then move your 40. So, A equals 75. So, there was 75 tickets in advance 40 sold at the door. Right? You guys do